Just a warning, this episode contains content that may be distressing to some listeners.
So imagine a young couple in a temple in Thailand. He's Australian, she's American, and they're kneeling in front of a Buddhist monk. It's their wedding day.
I met this amazing person, and long story short, we got married in a Buddhist temple in Chiang Mai.
Looked over my shoulder, butterflies, and she's it, that's the one. Straight off the bat, I just knew.
But this is no ordinary wedding. Robbie and Virginia had met 10 days before. He popped the question just 1 week in. He didn't muck around.
Yeah, still remember when I went down on one knee, old-fashioned style, and proposed.
This was October 2002. To their families, the rushed marriage was kind of shocking.
I honestly remember my parents freaking out. They were like, oh my God, she met this guy and she's like just gonna marry him and go back to Australia. And
That's Sky Roberts, Virginia's little brother, who was 13 at the time.
just this like really extravagant thing. But I mean, to be honest with you, it was very Virginia too at that time.
Of course, this is Virginia Roberts Giuffre, years before she became known as Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent victim, before the world knew her name. As they kneel before the monk, they have everything they need: a translator called Charlie, a white halter dress for Virginia, and a halo of tiny white flowers around her head. They have a dark olive suit for Robbie, and one of those cheap Thai gold rings, you know, the ones that turn your fingers green. In the Thai tradition, Virginia and Robbie attach 7 strings around their wrists, each symbolising a wish, like enduring love, fertility and freedom. Virginia was 19 and knew little about freedom, especially the freedom to do what she wanted with her body.
Later, Virginia said she fell in crazy love with Roberto Antonio Giuffre, partly because he represented something safe.
Personally, I knew he was the one when he told me, the people that are abusing you, it's not right. And you don't have to live like that. And he was the first person to tell me that.
Her brother Sky puts it this way.
In a lot of ways, he was the savior in that regard. We always gave him that credit.
Just weeks after their wedding, the American rapper Eminem released the song Lose Yourself. You know the one.
Look, if you had...
Virginia played it all the time. In her memoir, Nobody's Girl, she wrote that no other song better captured her new life with Robbie.
Opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted.
Robbie was her saviour. He freed her from Epstein. But as the years passed, he came to represent something else, something darker, and it wasn't freedom.
My name's Mel Fyfe and I'm a senior writer with Good Weekend magazine at The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. So late last year, my editor suggested I should look into Virginia Giuffre's life in Australia. At the time, it had hit the news that Virginia's family was in a battle over her estate. And by the way, that estate is worth millions of dollars, and we'll get to that in a future episode. But as I started investigating the last 4 months of Virginia's life, I realised there was a bigger story than the estate fight. I also realised I would need some help. So I contacted my colleague, Carla Hildebrandt.
Hey, Mel.
Hey, Carla. All right. Carla and I, we're on opposite sides of Australia. We're separated by thousands of kilometres and a time difference of several hours. And so sometimes it's just easier to send each other voice notes.
Lots of voice notes.
Hey, Carla. I found another paper
Mel.
that came from 2020 and it looked at all of the...
Living and reporting from Perth has meant that I visited the places that meant the most to Virginia in the last years of her life. It also means I can access the courts here, which I've been doing while covering the feud over Virginia's money in the Supreme Court of Western Australia. While Virginia lived a quiet life in Perth with her 3 children, husband Robbie, and her pets, she became famous for taking on some of the world's most powerful people.
Giuffre is one of the most prominent and vocal accusers of sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein.
One of the most outspoken survivors of their abuse.
Andrew's accuser, Virginia Giuffre.
She won legal battles against pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and his accomplice, British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell.
Taken his own life while he was behind bars
Ghislaine
here in
Maxwell
New York City.
has tonight been found guilty of having helped her lover, the financier Jeffrey Epstein, sexually abuse.
She calls the downfall of the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, Duke of York.
Again, I have absolutely no memory of that photograph ever being taken.
It was the case that shook the monarchy to its very core, but tonight it's over.
Announced that Prince Andrew is returning his royal and military titles to the Queen.
Claims, reaching an out-of-court settlement with his accuser, Virginia Giuffre.
She inspired dozens of other victims to come forward, and she fought for justice despite genuine threats to her life.
To this day, and I won't stop fighting. I will never be silenced until these people are brought to justice.
Virginia's bravery changed my life.
We would not be here without her. There is no doubt in my mind about that.
But this isn't a story about the Epstein files, which continues to dominate the news cycle worldwide. It's about a private battle Virginia fought for most of her married life with Robbie, about domestic violence and coercive control, a threat that grew more menacing the stronger she became, a battle that ultimately ended in April last year when she took her own life. We've been given access to Virginia's diaries, court documents and texts to friends and family. With these and interviews with her loved ones, we reveal what happened in those last months of Virginia's life. What emerges is a picture of an isolated woman who suddenly found herself outside the justice system.
What Virginia went through raises serious questions about Australia's domestic violence system. Why did a magistrate, at the stroke of a pen, take her kids away without even hearing from her? Did the police fail to properly investigate an incident that left her visibly bruised? Why, when she reached out for help in those last months, did many not believe her story?
Accuser Virginia Giuffre that she was involved in a serious crash which has left her with just days to live. Conflicting details in this, aren't there?
Yes, it's a bit confusing.
Even in death, the conspiracies persisted.
2019, where she writes, quote,
I am making it publicly known that in no way, shape, or form am I suicidal.
This story just doesn't add up for me.
Believe a shred of it at this point. I've seen too much.
What we discovered was that Virginia's experience is not uncommon in Australia. Virginia helped vanquish a prince and a millionaire. Before she died, she was wealthy, with the resources to defend herself, and yet, still she was misidentified as a violent abuser and banned from seeing her children. If this could happen to Virginia, we began to realise, it could happen to anyone. From the newsrooms of The Age, the Sydney Morning Herald and WA Today, this is Virginia, a 4-part series. Episode 1, Escaping Epstein.
It was very embarrassing for her to come out and be like, I could fight Jeffrey Epstein, I could fight Ghislaine Maxwell and many others, but nonetheless, like, the biggest and the hardest fight of her life was in her backyard. It was the person behind closed doors.
It was the worst thing that could have happened to her. Her children were her life. They were the only reason why she came forward.
Hey, Mel.
Hey.
I think Robbie's here in person, and he looked up at me and we just stared at each other.
I was really shocked that she hadn't broken something in her face.
My sister was very adamant to us that she didn't want him to get a cent.
She was a fierce advocate for so long, and it shouldn't have been on her to be advocating for herself.
I was a fun-loving big sister to a little brother. I have a big brother that I absolutely love, but we used to poke fun at each other.
That's Virginia. She's speaking here to Tara Brown, our colleague from 60 Minutes.
Virginia, if you can take me back to you as a child.
It was November 2019. It was one of the few in-depth TV interviews Virginia gave. A lot of what you'll hear from Virginia in this episode is from Tara's interview.
I was a very happy child for quite a while. I had a normal childhood for quite a while.
Virginia Lee Roberts, who everyone called Jenna, grew up in Loxahatchee, Florida. It's about a 35-minute drive from Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. It was once an off-the-grid kind of place. Big blocks, lots of horses. And the Roberts family spent a lot of time with former polo and race horses, buying them, breaking them in, rehabilitating them. We wanted to ask you, what was it like to be an older brother to Virginia growing up in Florida?
We grew up kind of neat. We grew up around a lot of animals, horses and goats and chickens, and kind of did the little farm life.
Danny Wilson is Virginia's half-brother. He and his wife Lynette spoke to us from their home in West Texas. He has a pretty cool-sounding job. He's a rocket inspector, and he has straight hair to his shoulders. Lynette has long grey hair.
Hello from West Texas.
I can see you guys have the butterflies on your... Do you wear them every time you're talking about Jenna? Yeah. They both wore butterfly brooches pinned to their clothes because, to Virginia, butterflies symbolised transformation and freedom.
We were probably lower middle class. We lived in a pretty affluent area, but we lived on the outskirts, and we worked for them. Her father worked for Mar-a-Lago, and my mom, she was in banking.
I loved riding horses. I loved climbing trees. Because I had brothers, I thought I was probably a tomboy more than I was a princess. Until I was 7, and then that's the first time that I encountered sexual abuse. It was from then on. I still connected with the horses really well, but my life just changed, and it diminished that light that was in me. And my mom has like the pre-videos and the after videos, and you can see where, in my life it took a different direction at such a young age.
It was only years later that Virginia told her brothers about this abuse, and that the person who did it was her father. It changed how they saw him. Danny and Lynette particularly remember an incident on Halloween 2013.
We were going trick-or-treating, and we had all the kids.
Virginia's dad was there.
He showed up, and I was on edge, and my sister was like, please, he's just here.
I was talking with Virginia, and we were laughing and having a great time, and I turned around and I saw him holding our daughter. And immediately, like, my blood ran cold, and I looked at Danny and I was like, you need to get her away from him.
Danny spoke sternly to his stepfather. He told him to put his daughter down on the ground. And the thing that spoke volumes to Danny and Lynette, was that Virginia's father didn't react. He just put his granddaughter down.
I believed her from the first moment she told me. But there was that definite moment in that time where there was just no question. There was no question, because anybody that didn't do these things would have reacted differently when your son tells you to aggressively to put your grandchild down.
For Danny, after this Halloween incident, it was all over with his stepfather.
Once I told him, like, look, I'm done with you forever. I told him, thank you for everything that you've taught me, but now it belongs to me. And I told him, if you ever come back here, I'm going to take it as a threat, and you're going to be laying in the street.
Virginia said her father abused her from the age of 7 to 11, and he also trafficked her to a friend of his, a man named Forrest. It's important to note that her father, Sky William Roberts, denies both allegations. For child sexual abuse, particularly when the abuser is a parent, it's devastating. Victims are at least twice as likely to experience sexual and partner violence when they are adults. Virginia spoke about feelings of shame and worthlessness. She found it hard to trust people. And, of course, her ability to recognise a respectful, normal relationship had been destroyed. You know, the story for Virginia from here, it just gets worse. It's like she's set on these train tracks and it's hard to get off. In her teens, struggling with her history of sexual abuse, and that the adults around her turned a blind eye, Virginia rebelled. She partied. She had meltdowns. She was angry, defiant. She's raped by 2 boys in the back of a car. She was sent away to a relative in California. And then later, her mother sent her to a really tough juvenile detention facility. During one of her escapes from this facility, she was violently raped by an armed stranger in a white van. Then, shortly after, a man called Ron Eppinger picked her up in a limo. He said he ran a modelling agency, but he was actually a sex trafficker who was later jailed for smuggling women into the US for prostitution. Virginia spent 6 months trapped in this awful world. She was 15.
The police barged in one morning and they took me out of there, and the person who did it ended up dying in jail. And then I thought, like I'd been through the worst parts of my life, I thought, as of yet. I didn't know what was around the corner. So I started trying to put the pieces of my life back together. I wanted to get off the streets. I wanted to stop running away. I wanted to stop, hurting myself. And my dad got me a job at Mar-a-Lago. I thought my life was turning around. I loved working at Mar-a-Lago. It made sense to me for the first time in my life. I never knew what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be, and it was so beautiful, it was so serene, it was so calm.
Virginia was 16 and working for $9 an hour as a locker room attendant in the spa. Mar-a-Lago seemed like a kind of paradise. She loved its manicured lawns. The spa smelled of sandalwood and lavender and had giant gold baths. As she handed out towels and made tea, she allowed herself to dream a little.
I saw these amazing women who were massage therapists, and they just had this aura about them that they were all put back together. They all seemed like the nicest people in the world, and they were calm and they were happy. And I wanted something like that for my life. So for the first time in my life, I knew what I wanted to do. And I got a book about massage therapy and I started reading about it.
Virginia was reading this book at the spa's front desk when a well-dressed woman walked towards her. Her British accent reminded Virginia of Mary Poppins.
She said, I've got a person that I know who's actually looking for a traveling masseuse. And if you want, I can get you an interview with him. And I said to her, I was like, I'm not by any means licensed, or I've never, this is the first book I've read about it. She said, no, don't worry about that. You just come over for the interview. If he likes you, we can get you educated. We can get you certified. You'll be a real masseuse and you'll get to travel and see the world. And she made it sound like it was a dream come true.
The Mary Poppins lady was Ghislaine Maxwell. That night, Virginia was abused by Maxwell and Epstein in his Palm Beach mansion.
As an adult, I know it's right to run, but as a kid who had been through what I had been through in my life already, I guess the last thought that I had was, well, this is what life's about. This is all I've learned, I can't catch a break.
In her memoir, Virginia often talks directly to the reader, like, "Look, I know it's grim, the violence, the neglect, it's a lot." She promises there are happier times ahead. We also want to acknowledge that this is a lot, and that's why we don't want to go into all the lurid details of the 2 years Virginia spent with Epstein and Maxwell. But if you haven't been paying attention to the Epstein scandal, there are a few things that are good to know when you're making sense of Virginia's experience. As she always said, there were no bars on her prison. She could have left, but Epstein used a combination of ways to keep his victims close and silent. The girls were often poor or had been abused in some way. They were often promised the thing they wanted most, like a modelling contract, an education or money. For Virginia, it was a massage course. The victims also feared Epstein. Virginia had suffered a brutal rape on Epstein's Island by a man who she called a former minister in court documents. She was afraid if she upset Maxwell or Epstein, she'd be sent back to him. Epstein also threatened his victims and told them that he owned the Palm Beach Police Department.
He told me, "I know where your little brother goes to school." So, when you talk about psychological fear, it's not like they put a gun to my head and said, "Do this or die." It was these invisible chains that I talk about that kept you complacent, kept you there. And they would use that all the time against me and against other people as well.
According to the US Department of Justice, Epstein abused more than 1,000 girls and women. This abuse operated like a massive pyramid scheme. When Maxwell wasn't out hunting down young girls for him, his victims were offered $400 to find schoolmates and friends. It created long-lasting feelings of confusion, guilt and shame for the victims, including Virginia.
I was constantly getting in trouble for not bringing girls in. Ghislaine constantly came down hard on me. There were a few girls that I did bring in, and out of everything that I'm sorry for in my entire life, that's it.
Virginia was under Epstein's control for just over 2 years, from around 2000 to 2002. As Virginia writes in her book, they were like a dysfunctional family, and she'd often be mistaken for Epstein and Maxwell's daughter. While some girls were abused by Epstein alone or by Epstein and Maxwell, Virginia was one of the victims who was also trafficked to other men.
My client, Virginia Giuffre, was trafficked by Epstein almost 30 times when she was under the age of 18, both nationally and internationally.
That's Sigrid McCauley, Virginia's US-based lawyer and dear friend. Virginia named some of these men in her book, men like Jean-Luc Brunel, the French modelling agent, and Prince Andrew. Others she didn't name, but calls them billionaire number 1, 2 or 3, or the psychology professor or the former US senator. This is how she explains that decision not to name those men. And we've asked our colleague Cass to voice excerpts from Virginia's book.
You may notice that while I've named some men in this book, I have not named all the men I was trafficked to. Partly that is because I still don't know some of their names. Partly, too, that is because there are certain men who I fear naming. First and foremost, I'm a parent, and I won't put my family at risk if I can help it. Maybe in the future I will be ready to talk about these men, but not now.
Virginia's ghostwriter, journalist Amy Wallace, was so scared of these men that she hid all her notes and tapes.
Because they are proof of the veracity of this book in a place that nobody can find them. So, as I've said in other interviews, do not break into my house. You will not find them there.
The vast majority of men who had sex with an underage Virginia have not been charged with any crime. Virginia's 18, turning 19. She's on Epstein's Island, Little St. James, a private getaway in the US Virgin Islands. She's just emerged from the water after snorkeling with Epstein and Maxwell.
Ghislaine and Jeffrey were being nice to me, which is very rare. When they're nice to you, they need something from you.
They remove their flippers, peel the wetsuits from their bodies. Then Epstein and Maxwell announce they have something serious to propose to Virginia.
They asked me to have a kid for them. They tried to sweeten the deal by saying you would get a monthly allowance, we would buy you a house, everything would be great, your kid would be taken care of, but you'd have to sign a form that I would basically be signing my child over to them if I wanted to do that. You can't say no to Jeffrey and Ghislaine, right? That was one thing I already learned. So don't say no. So I said, yeah, that's okay. We can do that. But I need to get my massage certificate first, so if we can do that, then yeah, down the track, sure. I knew that in there it was time to hit the road. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know when I was going to do it. I just knew that I finally had it in my head. It just made sense to me all of a sudden. I need to run. I need to get out. I need to go fast. And I was going to Thailand.
Hey Mel, so we've got this photo of Virginia and Robbie on their wedding day.
Yeah, it's such a moment.
They're both sitting in front of different Thai Buddha statues. They both look really young, really innocent. Virginia looks beautiful. She's got flowers on her head, a flower crown, and her hair's in like ringlets in front of her face. She's got like a white halter neck dress on. And Robbie has a suit with a white shirt underneath, no tie. They're both very tan.
It's an incredible moment, really, particularly for Virginia. She's come out of this crazy, depraved world of Epstein and Maxwell and sex trafficking and private islands and private jets and New York mansions and being forced to have sex with some of the most powerful men in the world. Not to mention her own sad history of sexual abuse as a child. It's just that moment where she's escaped all of that, and that's behind her. And she's about to make this sort of leap into the unknown with this man that she's just known for a week. This is how our colleague, Tara Brown, put this question of escape to Virginia and Robbie in 2019.
This might seem a bit harsh or mean to ask you, but did either of you think that instead of true love, that this was an escape route?
It was an escape, but it was an escape with a happy ending.
It was.
Still
I knew
is.
she was the one. I knew her from the first time I met her.
After the wedding, the couple honeymooned on the Thai island of Koh Phangan, and Virginia began to learn more about the 26-year-old Australian that she'd just married. He was from Sydney. His parents were Italian migrants. He dropped out of high school. Like thousands of Australian kids in the 1980s, he'd been brought up on monkey or monkey magic. I remember it fondly from my childhood. It was completely wacky. A Japanese-made cult show that had lots of kung fu fighting, but also these gentle life lessons woven through. I didn't realise it at the time, but they were Buddhist. The show inspired his love of martial arts and spirituality. He also told Virginia that he saw himself as a bully basher, and this is how she describes it in the book.
As a kid, he'd made it his business to wait after school to punish those who picked on those smaller than themselves. I'm a scrapper, he said. Always have been.
Almost everyone we've interviewed for this podcast has described Robbie as a big personality and charming. Here's Sky, Virginia's little brother, and his wife Amanda. You'll hear a lot more from them in the next episode.
He was kind of the fun guy, okay? Like, he's kind of the fun. I mean, I'd never met anybody from Australia to begin with. I mean, especially in person. Very fun, very loud, very outgoing.
He's
I mean,
charismatic.
Very
when he first
charismatic.
met him.
He's quite a big character, I've got to say.
This is John Sutton. He had come from Wales to learn Thai boxing at the same training camp as Robbie in Chiang Mai. They met around the same time Robbie met Virginia.
I remember there was a time when they were quite hot and heavy. I think they were kissing ringside at the fights on the Friday night. and it's frowned upon a little bit in Thailand. And then the next thing I knew, one of the lads turned around and said, they're going off to get married.
So on their honeymoon, Virginia decided to get a tattoo. Epstein had banned his girls from getting them, so she told Robbie that a tattoo would be like a guarantee that she would now repulse Epstein. The image was a butterfly, a symbol, she said, of the freedom of flight, and the words, "In love with Robbie G." Robbie's name was actually misspelled by the tattoo artist, with only one B, but there it was, a permanent declaration of love in the small of her back. Robbie insisted Virginia call Epstein to say goodbye. He said he needed to hear her say it, but he also thought it was important for her to make that final call. So, as her gut was churning, she dialed his mobile number.
It just blurted out, Jeffrey, I just got married, and I'm not coming back.
This is how she described the call in the popular Netflix doco Filthy Rich.
He said, what do you mean? And you could tell he was pissed, well pissed. And I'm scared to death. I said, Jeffrey, I've started a new life. That's it. And he hung up the phone. I felt free. I immediately felt like the chains broke off.
I see your shadow on the street now.
So Virginia got on a plane to Sydney. For her, Australia was the beginning of a new life, but also where she would learn how to be a functioning adult in the normal world. She learned how to make cannoli and coffee the Italian way with a stovetop espresso. Robbie bought her a Jack Russell called Champ.
Australia became my home. I learned how to cook. I learned how to clean. I learned how to be a wife. My mother-in-law taught me so many amazing things about being a real person. I like to say that I died at 19 and was reborn in Australia because that was the beginning of a new era for me.
She fell in love with the Australian band Powderfinger and their hit song, My Happiness. Money was often tight, married life sometimes bumpy. Virginia was haunted by terrifying nightmares and flashbacks from her past. But there was happiness. She loved it when Robbie called her his missus. She did some waitressing and was later a receptionist. Robbie worked in construction. In 2005, they moved to the New South Wales Central Coast. And in 2006, they had their first baby.
Every parent knows how healing it can be to give your child something you didn't receive as a child. Sometimes it felt that by tending to him, I was tending to the child I'd been, giving myself the love I'd needed.
In 2007, Virginia was 8 months pregnant with her second child when the phone rang. It was Ghislaine Maxwell. Virginia hadn't heard from Maxwell since she left Thailand. A few days later, Epstein called. They both wanted the same thing, her silence. The FBI was investigating Epstein for sex trafficking minors. Virginia said she had no intention of talking. A year later, in 2008, the US Department of Justice gave Epstein an unprecedented deal. He would plead guilty to 2 state charges, procuring a child for prostitution and soliciting a prostitute. The US government agreed to never further prosecute him or his associates. This was done in secret.
He could have faced life in prison for allegations with underage girls, but the prosecutor in the case, Alex Acosta, struck a more lenient deal, just 13 months in a county jail for those charges.
The dozens of victims who had given evidence against him were never consulted. Later that year, a lawyer got in touch with Virginia. The FBI investigation had identified her as an Epstein victim. To Virginia's outrage, the lawyer explained that the sweetheart deal would mean no trial and therefore no hope of any justice. but there would be financial compensation. She filed a lawsuit under a pseudonym, Jane Doe 102. In November 2009, Epstein, through his lawyers, made a confidential agreement with Virginia. The lawsuit would be dismissed. Epstein would not admit to violating any federal laws, but he would pay Virginia $500,000.
I'd chosen the amount after looking at the average home prices in our neighbourhood. Later, I would learn that at least one victim was paid 10 times what I was, but back then, I simply didn't know how to ask for more.
In early 2010, Virginia prepared for the birth of her third child, a baby girl named Ellie. We've chosen not to use her real name because she's still a minor. She decorated the room with everything princessy. She'd always been a fan of princess fairy tales. When the midwife placed her daughter in her arms, she burst into tears.
The first time I decided to go public, it was because I gave birth to this beautiful baby girl. It kind of made me realize what I had been through was still happening to other people out there. It wasn't just me. And I looked at my husband and I said, Robbie, we can't just sit by and be silent anymore. We've got to do something about it.
In the next episode of Virginia.
Robbie comes running from the backyard and he charged Sky while he's holding my 3-month-old.
You're going to go there to protect her? That's funny. I mean, hell, you're her biggest threat right now.
I was really shocked that she hadn't broken something in her face.
Responding to domestic abuse allegations in this podcast, Robbie Giuffre has stated through his lawyers that Virginia suffered, quote, significant mental health issues and over-reliance on prescription medication due to the pressure of being in the public eye, and this may have led to Virginia's change of perspective. His lawyer says that in Virginia's book Nobody's Girl, quote, Virginia praised and thanked Robbie for his support throughout their marriage and in particular her struggle to be heard. The statement goes on to say Robbie and the children want to remember Virginia as a loving wife and mother.
If you or anyone you know needs support, you can contact the National Sexual Assault, Domestic and Family Violence Counselling Service on 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732. Lifeline on 131-114 or Beyond Blue on 1300-224-636. Virginia is a production of The Age, The Sydney Morning Herald, WA Today and Good Weekend magazine. It's reported and hosted by Melissa Fyfe and Carla Hildebrandt. I'm Julia Carr-Catzel and I was the executive producer on this series. Fact-checking by Mark White. Cormac Lally mixed the series. Tammy Mills is the executive producer of audio. Tom McKendrick is the head of audio and video, and Lisa Muxworthy is the head of growth content. Most of the audio you hear from Virginia Giuffre in this podcast was taken from an excellent long interview our colleague Tara Brown conducted for 60 Minutes in 2019. And you can watch the whole interview on streaming platform Stan. A few pieces of Virginia's audio were taken from the Netflix documentary Jeffrey Epstein, Filthy Rich. Thanks to Age journalist Cass Knowlton, who read excerpts of Virginia's memoir, Nobody's Girl, published by Penguin Random House. Follow Virginia to make sure you don't miss an episode. And for bonus content, check out our websites, theage.com.au or watoday.com.au. Thanks for listening.